Welcome to the Food Professor Podcast, presented by Cattle, Season 6, Episode 6. I'm Michael LeBlanc.
And I'm the Food Professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Our very special guest for this episode is Bryce Lobreau, co-founder of 8 Acres, joining us from beautiful Southwest Manitoba. 8 Acres was founded by 2 young farming lads and their families. Bryce manages the organic cattle farm, and his partner Ben manages the grass-fed. And they're one of the few story brands in Canadian protein and beef. I can think of Noble Bison, who we've also had on. I was so impressed. I mean, he's both a hands-on cattle farmer, rancher, and I thought a very savvy brand forward marketer as well.
Oh, absolutely. 3,000 heads of cattle. That's a lot in organic. Like the organic space is, as we know, a premium space, but beef is premium now. So he's premium of premium, essentially. And so I was really looking forward to our chat with him. The beef industry is really changing right now, but and I do think that the momentum is on Bryce's side when it comes, because people will want to spend money on good protein. Because if they're asked to spend money on beef, might as well spend a little more. And
that was such an interesting point he made. We'll hear it when we get to the interview. But he says, if you're paying that premium, why not step up for a small premium? And in fact, it's not always a premium to get organic or grass fed. So I thought his insights were fantastic, and so it's a great interview. So stay tuned for that later in the episode. All right, it's October 1st. It's October 2nd when folks are listening to this. We're recording it October 1st. So
we're in October anyways.
Like many Canadians, turning their minds to the rapidly approaching Thanksgiving dinner. As you know, Sylvain, I am a massive turkey fan.
I know.
Although, as you also know, I'm under strict orders from the family to cook it in a fairly conventional way.
Yeah, I know.
For Thanksgiving.
Disgusting. Too dry.
Well, it's not. It's delicious.
It's too dry.
No, not the way I cook it.
Actually, you're a good cook. You know what you're doing. But a lot of people out there don't know what they're doing.
And they overcook. I generally, if you want some advice, everybody tune into the show, the Last Quest Barbecue. But most people overcook and dry out turkey, which is easy to do.
Like turkey,
which is easy to do. But I've got a bunch of episodes about how to cook amazing turkey. Anyway, this isn't brought to you by the Turkey Canadian Association. You did some surveys, as you always do, and it's a really great way to anchor in overall the food basket and are Canadians paying less, more, sideways. So once again, you did that for 2025. Will Canadians be paying more for their Thanksgiving feast with their families this year, or less, or about the same as last year?
Yeah, so we actually use AI to actually assess the situation when it comes to Thanksgiving shopping. We created ourselves a barometer. So we have the main staples: turkey, pumpkin pie, gravy, filling, of course, cranberries,
stuffing,
bread, all the things that carrots, potatoes, the things that typically you would buy for a standard Thanksgiving dinner. So last year, families were asked to pay $32.40. That's up 18 cents. That's it. 0.2% compared to last. That's it.
That's good news.
That's very good news, actually. Absolutely. And I've been talking to a lot of reporters over the last couple of days about the report. And I don't think they're accustomed to some good news. They're just, what's going on here? What's really, where is it going to hurt? Well, the bird itself is cheaper than last year. I don't know if you've been looking around at turkey prices, but they're generally cheaper. If you're paying more than $1.49 a pound for a frozen bird, you're probably paying too much right now. And this is why we're releasing our report about 10 days before Thanksgiving, because deals will happen the weekend before Thanksgiving, not during the weekend, Thanksgiving weekend. So you want to be out there, disciplined, focus as much as possible. So the bird is cheaper, about 15%. There's also carrots. A lot of produce are cheaper. If you're into greens like Brussels sprouts, beans, broccoli, they're all on average cheaper than last year. So
it's great news. Fantastic.
However, and so in terms of products that are pretty much the same price as last year, pumpkin pie and bread, basically. But everything else, it's more expensive. So cranberry, gravy and fillings are more expensive, and
A little
frankly,
bit.
the one factor that is new this year are tariffs. So if you're buying
Hmm.
something in a can,
Yeah.
and a lot of people do buy
Oh,
things in a can,
cranberry
filling
sauce
for
or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Pumpkin
gravy,
pie. Yeah.
pumpkin pie, absolutely, and of course cranberries. If you don't have time, you'll buy in a can. But if it's in a can, you're going to be spending more money this year
Mm.
due to tariffs, counter tariffs on both sides
On
of
the
the border,
aluminum, right? Not on the
on
product
aluminum and
inside. Right.
steel. That's right.
Right. Right.
So it's costing more. Uh, to any manufacturer, whether it's in the US or Canada. So that's why, our advice this year is to stay away from canned food, and
Mm.
they'll be able to save as much as possible. And but we are noticing over the years, and we have talked to a few people about our report, and a lot of people are just kind of moving away from turkey, and they're going for ham or other products.
Mm.
The
Mm.
other thing that I'm hearing is that it's the organic beef syndrome. If you're paying more for your bird, might as well go for another kind of quality
Mm.
premium meat. And lamb is becoming
Oh,
more and more
interesting.
popular for
Interesting.
Thanksgiving.
Well, I like my turkey. I get a fresh turkey as opposed to a frozen bird, but I've
Well, you're
had
part of
frozen
the
as well.
elite.
And
That's why. Yeah.
well, I do enjoy. As you know, and as the listeners might know if they've been longtime
How
listeners.
much are you expecting to pay for fresh this year?
We get a pretty big turkey because we like leftovers, and we
Okay.
got a bunch of folks over. We'll pay between
Yeah, it's a 30-pound turkey, isn't it?
pretty
No, it's
close. I think
25, isn't it?
the
25?
last one we had was over 20 pounds.
Because you cook
And
for Mississauga and
yeah,
Etobicoke, I
that's
think.
right. We were in the 80 to 110 range.
Right. Yeah.
For bird, which
That's a big bird.
fortunate. Yeah, it's a big bird, and fortunate we're able to afford that, and
Right.
you know we're in a good
And
situation. You
by
can
by the
certainly get
way,
more
by the way,
economical turkey. What's that?
looking at turkey prices,
Hmm.
this morning I'm at the cottage for, of course, in Saint Sauveur right now, and I saw 5 beautiful wild turkeys
Mm.
walking by. I
I
said,
hear
"Oh,
they're
this is a way
crazy.
to
I drove
save
by.
money."
Just steer that car a little bit to the left there. Do your own
Yeah,
turkey farming.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
There's
funny.
lots of wild turkeys everywhere. It's unbelievable. Yeah,
Except no wild turkey whiskey from America. So let's turn our
that's true.
minds, like that segue. Let's turn our minds and attention for just a minute to America for a bit. And
Yeah.
what October also brought was a big U.S. government shutdown. Now this is the first and biggest shutdown since I think 2019, so 7 years. And I had two
Who was
questions for
president at the
you.
time? Who was president?
Probably would have been. Uh,
Trump, right?
oh yeah.
Same guy.
Uh,
More
um,
chaos.
yeah, well, there's lots of that too. But so my question for you, because the Americans will do what the Americans do, but are there any implications for Canadian agriculture? Were there any lessons from last time? I mean, the border, there's lots of food that goes back and forth, and safety and all that stuff. But how are you thinking about in the short term? Some certain people in the government, like border folks, are mandated; they're mandatory. They'll
Yeah.
continue to work, but there's probably that in food inspection. I don't know. Like, how do you think about when a government shuts down in the U.S. and
Well, the
implications
last
for
shutdown
Canadians?
under Trump was 35 days or something,
Something like
and
that. Yeah.
yeah, and in 2019 we did see delays for food safety inspections, for example. We saw delays for research as well, FDA testings for health, and so yeah, we are expecting some level of influence with the shutdown. But it really depends on how long it's going to last.
Sure.
But we do rely heavily on the United States, and over the last few months we kind of forgot that we actually have a highly integrated economy,
Right.
but we still
Right.
do. We
Very
still
much
do.
so.
A lot of businesses do
Yep.
business with the Americans, and obviously that certainly is something that it concerns a lot of Canadian companies. So it really depends on how long this is going to last, but it's a bit messy. I just wonder. I mean, there is no equivalent in Canada. I mean, I was wondering to myself this morning, if we were to see a government shutdown at the federal level in Canada, would people actually notice?
Well, we're experiencing kind of one now. Canada Post is on full walkout strike, and it's
Oh,
relevant to
that's
our
right. I'm not getting
right.
email. I'm not getting mail anymore. Oh my goodness, my world has turned upside down. What are you talking
Stop.
about?
Well,
What are you
listen, all
talking
the
about?
hey, listen. Our listeners, the grocers, use Canada Post to distribute flyers. So I would argue, or I would posit, that there's a lot of people who shop those flyers and do comparison shopping. Now, of course, you can
Ever
get
heard
them
of Flip?
online. A lot of people use Flip, but a lot of people like to just lay them out on the kitchen table, right? Millions and millions of these flyers,
It's
and
about
not
25,
everybody,
30%. Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
Like, and it's not. I would say that there are people who are shopping at the value end of the scale that need flyers. So
right.
it's not without its damage. And in our business, there's a bunch of our business, bunch of people who use Canada Post for moving goods and product around on packages, not just
Right.
checks. Um, so as a comic in all seriousness, we hope that kind of wraps up. I guess we're experiencing a little bit of it now. We'll see. We'll see what happens in terms of a Canadian shutdown. It's interesting though, right? There, who would have to work and who must work. And
Yep.
anyway, let's talk about something else in terms of Canadian government. Pistachios. So
Yeah.
I have a couple of things. I heard about this pistachio issue more connected to this chocolate bar, the Dubai chocolate. That it seemed to be the Dubai chocolate bars were suffering from bad pistachios. But now I saw this announcement that we're banning pistachios from Iran. First of
Iran.
all,
Yep.
why are we doing business with Iran? Don't they sell drones to kill our partners in Ukraine? Okay, separate issue, but and then I found out Iran is like the number 2 maker of pistachios. But once again, why are we doing business with Iran? But anyway, let's talk about
Well,
pistachios.
I mean, because they grow pistachios, and
Yeah.
chances are we're not actually directly buying from Iran. They do
Mm,
come from Iran, but we actually go through agencies and companies
yeah.
from the United States probably, and other places basically.
Mm,
But this recall, this
yeah.
food safety
It's big.
problem caused by salmonella, for people who still don't know, who have been living under a rock, because this is a story that keeps on giving. It's been
Yeah.
around for months and months and months, which is really unusual. And this is what happens when you deal with an ingredient. It's always difficult to really pinpoint the source of the
Mm,
contamination, and that's why you're absolutely right, Michael. There were rumors here and there, and of course, a lot of people talked about the Dubai chocolate because, well, there was a TikTok moment about that, and people were well, they were able to relate to that. But pistachios is in many different products, and chances are right now is that no one is carrying a contaminated product as a grocer. Of course, everything has been pulled, but my guess is that there's probably still a lot of people out there, consumers, who may have contaminated products in their homes with pistachios. So there's been so far 16 hospitalizations in Canada.
wow.
So
It's big.
and I don't think
Any
anybody
I
has
was going to
died
it up.
yet, which is
Well, that's good.
great. I mean,
That's good.
it's a good thing, but this is what we know so far. So be careful out there. If you have anything with pistachios, I would certainly get rid of it, or at least consult the ever confusing
Yeah.
CFIA
Like
website.
right. Don't consult that. You
Oh
you'll
my, yeah, because
you blow your mind.
well, if you actually look for pistachios, there's probably 120 alerts now. I mean, it's
Right.
just
Right.
that's why this is the food professor talking to everyone right now. If you have pistachios in your cupboard or in your fridge, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Don't take a
Or
chance.
desserts
Just
or
get rid of it.
snacks with
Anything.
pistachio or anything.
Absolutely. It will save you time, and it will save you some grief as well. And of course, if you have people with compromised immune systems, you don't want to take a chance.
Yeah, and it like we saw with cantaloupes, these these things pop up in places like daycares and seniors' homes and small businesses that just don't get the message, right? I saw it locally here in Mississauga.
But
A couple of
what's
local,
really concerning about pistachios compared to cantaloupes or romaine lettuce is that we've seen sales for romaine lettuce, for cantaloupes. These commodities have actually recovered from massive food recalls, even if they were casualties. In the case of pistachios, it's been in the news for so long. People will start associating the product with risk, and people may actually avoid the product for quite some time. Christmas is around the corner. My guess is that people will just avoid pistachios altogether.
Yep, I have been totally avoiding them for 6 months, but thanks to the podcast, I'm actually surprised. I think we may have mentioned it before, but anyway,
we have, but months ago during season 5.
It keeps going. And by the way, if I didn't ask the question before, why are we buying stuff from Iran? Okay, I'll move off that. Even from Americans. Why are Americans buying stuff from Iran? Anyway, don't they bomb Iran? Anyway, okay, not a political podcast.
That's beyond the pod. Beyond the pod. Food unites us, Michael.
I guess.
Food unites us. Okay, we shouldn't be judging.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm judging. I'm very
Kill
judgy
people for
about
other
these
reasons.
Kind of things. Yeah, I'm very judgy about these kind of things. All right, let's get back on track. So let's talk about. There's a headline out today about Ottawa weighing greater access for U.S. dairy into Canada.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Oh my goodness! And we know this has been a hot point and will be a hot point and has been a hot point for U.S.-Canadian relations. We resolved a little bit of our issue with New Zealand, where we did some stuff and we kind of harmonized. But this is interesting that they're kind of soft pedaling out, putting a flag up, see who salutes, right, into the Canadian population, that we may be open to giving more access to U.S. dairy. What do you make of this?
You know what? The hypocrisy is mind-blowing. So Minister LeBlanc said today, we're not touching supply management. We're not touching supply management. Well, guess what he said in 2015? And guess what he said in 2019? And a deal was ratified with the United States and Mexico, breaching supply management, giving more access to Americans and allowing them to actually sell more dairy products. Now, are we allowing them to sell more dairy products into Canada? Well, we've talked about how import quotas were allocated. They were allocated to companies who had zero interest in importing more competition into the market. And so, and the Globe and Mail with Kate Kelmore, she did a fine job portraying exactly what was going on. And for many products like yogurt, for example, cottage cheese, we're way below our quota. We're not importing nearly as much as we should. And so that's one reason why Americans are upset with us. And the other reason, of course, are tariffs. I mean, I don't think the bill that was adopted, Bill C-202, that was adopted by Parliament, is actually going to protect anything. It's a useless bill. It's not going to protect because at the end of the day, the government will actually do what it feels is right to get a deal with the Americans. Okay.
I mean, this topic has been considered a third rail topic in Quebec. We know we've got a heavily Quebec biased cabinet. Do you think, all that being said, that they're kind of floating up a balloon to see what happens and testing the mettle of the Quebecois voter? Because most of Canadians would, not care as much. There's a small group of people who would be passionate about this, but the average Canadian,
they're trying to measure how much the compensation should be. That's basically what they're doing. So they'll Canadians will give more access to the Americans, but really, I mean, is that the issue? Sure. But the main issue is, how will supply management work in an open economy? We have not figured that one out yet. All we're doing is we're ratifying deals and sending checks to dairy farmers. That is not sustainable. So either we send a huge check, i.e., $30 billion to all dairy farms so we can get rid of the quota system and go on and move on.
Like New Zealand.
Or we figure out supply management 2.0.
Yeah.
That's really the question. And it has nothing to do with Trump. Trump doesn't care about supply management. He doesn't know how it works. But this is a domestic issue, and I hate to see politicians continuously avoiding the issue, the real issue. Market access, there's going to be more products coming from abroad, but it doesn't solve our problem.
Let's stick with what's you just got me thinking about something. I don't know if you saw this in the U.S. and I wanted to land it in the Canadian context. There was their deals guy Scott Bensett was on his phone in the UN, and somebody took a picture of an email that was on his phone, and it was a complaint that Argentina had just don't cry for me, Argentina, that they had gotten funding from the U.S., but then they lowered their price, and now the Chinese are buying all their soybeans, and the U.S. farmer, I heard them call it Farmageddon. So it's not just Canada that's having trouble with all this stuff. It seems the Chinese they're buying soybeans from.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, they haven't bought soybeans from America since the spring.
Yep.
I was shocked at that.
Yeah, because they have Brazil.
And they got Brazil, and now whatever Argentina. That you talk about writing checks. Somebody's going to have to write a big check here to the American farmers soon, right?
Yeah, American farmers are in peril. I mean, they're having a hard time, and there are shows to support them. If you're in the grain business, you're hurting because your costs are way above anticipated revenues this fall for sure. And it's not because they're not producing; it's because
it's good crop
prices are here. Prices are flat, and so they're having a hard time making money. In Canada, we do have a support network for them, so we're not feeling the urgency in Canada. But in the U.S., the Farm Bill has not been adopted; it's been delayed, and so farmers are really facing. Some of them are facing the abyss. I mean, a lot of them are younger, highly in debt, and so it was a good thing that the Fed actually did reduce its benchmark last week, which really helped. But in general, a lot of farmers out there are going to be in deep trouble and this fall. So,
is there any upside, downside for Canadian farmers? I don't think we're a huge soy exporter. I think we're more canola, but we're in trouble with canola and the Chinese as well. But any upside or downside to all this chaos with soybeans?
Well, it's not going to impact Canadian farmers like this year, but it could actually impact farmers next year, because if you have fewer farms, you may actually impact output for next year. But who knows? Like, there's lots of things going on right now. A lot of, like in Canada, a lot of farmers are likely going to move away from canola because of China, for example.
What do you think they'll move to? I keep saying that to people, and they ask me, to what? Like, what would they do? Rice? What would they? Not really. That's
I mean, soybeans is like, I would say soy, wheat. Those are things that perhaps there's a market for. Pulses
what does India want?
Are getting more.
Sylvain, let me ask you the question. What does India want?
Well, yeah, pulses for sure.
There you go.
So I mean, and I do think that there's going to be momentum, but what I'm hearing right now is that canola is going to be down next year for sure, as a result of what's going on. And so, as much as what Prime Minister Carney is trying to do in China, China doesn't move very quickly diplomatically. It's going to take a while.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, let's take a break. Let's get to our interview with Bryce from 8 Acres. Now, first of all, we're going to hear from our great sponsor, Cattle. Once again, shout out to Ransom. He and I were together briefly in Vancouver, so it was great to see him, and they continue to do some great work. Some folks are talking about the work they're doing with cattle. So anyway, have a listen to this spot from Cattle. We appreciate their continued support. It's tough to bring this to you without folks like them. And then our great interview with Bryce from 8 Acres. We're back. Now, you sent me this note, and I was kind of, we've been thinking, and it's been a terrible year for forest fires from coast to coast. Newfoundland, every province. And I was reading an interview with Premier Canoe from Manitoba. Man, they had a tough season, and there's a lot of questions. And of course, when trees go on fire, they release all their carbon all at the same time. So we're way behind our targets for carbon. But there seems to be an unexpected upside. Talk about it.
Yeah, Ed White with Reuters, who I actually believe is one of the best ag reporters out there, actually interviewed a lot of farmers, only to realize that perhaps the smoke shield created a shield between the sun and flowers on canola plants, basically, because there's a part during the season, during the growing season. The canola plant with flowers is highly vulnerable to very, very um, hard sun rays on the plant. You could actually burn the flower, but because of the smoke, it basically protected plants, allowing farmers to see increased yields. Essentially, I thought. I mean, I read his report. It wasn't overly highly scientific, but it's a really interesting hypothesis, I think, because
I thought
when we
very
think about
intriguing. Yeah.
wildfires in agriculture, it's always negative, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
I thought that spin was really interesting, seeing, well, okay, so we have to cope with the smoke, but perhaps the smoke is helping farmers in one other way.
Man, it's so complicated, right?
Yeah.
This climate change and forest fires and
I'm
all
not
that.
suggesting that
And
we need more wildfires, but
yeah, right. That
because
last thing I was going to
wildfires have been
suggest.
around for centuries, and so we have
Yeah,
to cope
not
with
new.
them no matter what happens. And so, but I think it's an interesting
Yeah.
hypothesis to understand. Okay, there are downsides to wildfires, obviously, but perhaps there are unintended benefits.
Unintended
To
benefits.
Yeah,
That's a great way to put it. I saw this, moving on, I saw this article in New York Times, and I was reading about the world of sushi in New York. And in
yes,
sorry, it was in the New York Times, but it's the world of sushi in the US. And a couple of things jumped out at me. And one was the hyper growth of sushi as a category. And two, that, who do you think the number one seller of sushi is in America?
you know what? I do not know.
You'd think, I thought, some specialty chain or whatever. It's Kroger's. The grocery department store sells more sushi than
Really?
anyone else. I was like, "What?
The number
Where?
two grocer in Canada, in the United States. Wow.
Like where did that come from?" Turns out the data came from Circana, and the US
Right.
Circana folks. So I reached out to our good friend Vince from Circana, who will be with us, by the way, at the coffee
Yep.
conference that's coming up. And I said, "Is this happening in Canada?" And he got back to us. Thank you, Vince. And he tapped into Circana and his Crest Food Service data, and he says not really. First of all, what you and I thought, the specialty folks are really doing the lion's share of sushi, and other categories like Indian, Mexican, Thai. They're also on the rise. Like, along with, all boats are floating, so to speak. Not surprising. We have a very international country, but
Right.
it seems like we like our sushi, but not as much as the Americans, which I think is interesting. And but it gets me thinking some days about more and more, not just culturally, but the way consumers behave continues. We're more similar than the Americans than different from a consumer perspective. But now there's big differences, right? The
Yep.
U.S. consumer is facing down higher tariff costs over the holidays that are finally going to hit them. We
Yep.
don't have that here. They've got zero de minimis now. We don't
Yep.
have there's a lot of things that are nuancing differently. Now, you made the statement last episode that generally Americans eat out a lot more than
Yep.
Canadians, right?
They
So
do.
did any of this surprise you? And B, are you a sushi fan at all?
Well, I mean, I remember my wife and I went on a honeymoon, and we took a cruise. We actually went on a cruise to Bermuda. It was right after 9/11. Americans weren't flying. They were just they wanted to cruise all over the world, but they weren't flying anymore. Do you remember those days?
Mm-hmm.
2001.
Yeah.
And I remember during the cruise there was a couple of sushi nights on the ship. We There were 3,000 passengers.
Okay.
There were only 15 non-Americans.
Okay.
15, okay, including us. During sushi night, it was me and probably 5 or 6 people.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, this was almost 25 years ago,
Wow.
but it told me it really told me that Americans, I mean, some Americans actually enjoy sushi, but it's not as popular, I think, than in Canada, in my opinion. Okay, but when hamburger night came along or hot dog night came along, oh my goodness, you couldn't get a seat. And
Now,
so,
speaking of hot dogs, I don't know if you caught this. You know, the Blue Jays, congratulations, go Jays,
yeah, go
made
Jays.
made the playoffs. Did you know that they had a buck of hot dog night going
Oh
on?
yeah,
And then they would put the counter up in the stadium.
yep.
They hit their franchise record. You know how many hot dogs they sold this year? Take a
I
guess.
think it was what, 800,000 or something.
800,000 hot dogs.
You know
Whoever
why I
thought of
know
that?
that?
Why?
Because I visited the Kraft Heinz plant in Montreal a few weeks
Oh.
ago, and they're behind that campaign. They wanted
Ah.
to sell more ketchup to the Rogers Center. So how do you sell more ketchup? You sell
Sell
more
more
hot
hot
dogs.
dogs. My goodness. Anyway, congratulations, by the way, to whoever came up with that campaign.
Yeah.
They should get promoted because what game changer. Like hot dogs are, maybe that's not the 800,000 hot dogs. It's a lot
I
of hot
know.
dogs,
That's a
man.
lot. That's a lot of hot dogs per person
That's
when you
a
think
lot of
about
hot
it.
dogs per person. I know I know people were trying to do one an inning. And then when it went into extra
One an
innings,
inning. Oh
one
my
an inning.
God.
They're not huge dogs. I mean, they're snackable dogs, but still, anyway, of course they were younger and a little more.
It's now our pride and joy in Toronto.
That's right.
Like we're hot dog.
Hot
Actually,
dog
when
nation.
I saw it when I came back from my visit from Kraft Heinz, I actually looked up like which stadium sells the most hot dogs, and went on Chat GPT and asked a question. They couldn't come up with an answer. They don't know.
Yeah.
There's no data on this.
Well,
So basically, it's kind of funny because Toronto is used to be known as the hog town, right?
Hogtown. That's right. Hogtown with
And
all
so
the
I think it's
pork
actually
producers here.
fitting. If we're the king of hot
That's
dogs,
right.
Hogtown should be the king of hot dogs for sure.
Well, let's finish up with something else. We if Toronto is hot dog nation, or at least the Jays, your great book, Poutine Nation.
Oh
Let's see it
yes,
out, released now in English across the nation. Tell us about where it's available, when it's available, and there it is.
yeah,
If you're on YouTube, you can see the Poutine Nation. It's great font. It looks
yeah.
great.
No,
Tell us all
it's
about it. Now, first of
so
all, actually, tell us about what the book does in case people forget. Like, what's the story that it chronicles, and then tell us where we can find it.
yeah, absolutely. Of course, the original Poutine Nation book was released in French back in 2021. And since then, actually, we were looking for a publisher in English, and the University of Toronto Press agreed to publish my book with some additions. And so, of course, the University of Toronto Press is an academic publisher. But they allow me to really keep it simple, and of course, there are two sections to the book. The first part is it's about the history of poutine, and of course that's where the University of Toronto Press helped me out in terms of the rigor, in terms of the research that was required to really, demonstrate beyond reasonable doubt. Because it is a contentious issue in Quebec, right? People are not they don't agree in terms of how about the origins of poutine. So that's the first part. The second part is all about the pilgrimage, me touring the world, and finding poutine and experiencing poutine from all over the world. It was really a fun book to write. So this is my ninth book, but it is the only book I've written in the first person. So there's a lot of me in that book. So I actually reflect on my youth and how I discovered my first poutine, and what we did at night and what we shouldn't have done at night, sort of thing, as teenagers, But it's just great stuff, and I actually wrote this entire book on flights, to be honest. So it was great.
Well, I love the book because it, that journey from Farnham to the simple food that became an international success. And of course, I enjoyed some wonderful poutine in Lévis when I was in
Yes,
Quebec City
absolutely.
with
Yes.
my wife. Wonderful Quebec City, as well as a Michelin star. But we also had some great poutine. And congratulations! Now, can I buy that at my favorite bookstore? Where can I find it?
Well, you just go online at the University of Toronto Press, and to be honest, I don't know. Like the official launch is October 16th, but I got
Okay.
my copies. My guess is that you can probably find the book in any stores, bookstores, basically in Canada. That would be my guess. Yeah,
All
but
right.
I do believe that the UFT wants to make this an international
Fun.
product because I mean it's Poutine Nation. It doesn't have
Yeah. Yeah.
borders, so I suspect they'll actually look for markets in Europe and other places.
Well, and for those who are joining us at the Canadian Coffee Conference coming up, you will be giving away a few signed copies. So get your
Yes,
tickets
absolutely.
today.
Yes,
We'll do a
absolutely.
book. You
So
know
I'll
what?
be
You know what we do? We're gonna organize a book signing. Bring a case of books and do a book signing. There you go. Buy your book, support Sylvain, and get a great Canadian book. So there you
so
go.
are you my agent now or something?
Only if I'm getting a piece of the action, then I'll.
Exactly.
It's all about me. No, I mean it's all about you. Anyway, listen, great episode. Thanks everybody for joining in and continuing to listen. Our numbers are fantastic, and for those of you who go to YouTube, it takes me sometimes a few days to get the episode out,
Yeah.
so it's up there. But be patient because it's another thing I got to do. But it's coming along, and it's a lot of fun and lots of people engaging. So for now, let's leave it there. We'll be back next week. Lots of great guests coming on. I'm Michael LeBlanc, media entrepreneur, consumer advisor, retail advisor, and you are?
And I'm the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Safe travels, everybody.
Take care.